Hello, everyone. I am so excited to talk to Ben Cogswell about Facebook in the classroom and some of the awesome things that he is doing to build community. Ben and I have known each other, I think, for a few years on Twitter, and his role first was at TOSA, and now he's doing something very, very different. I will let him introduce himself to you. Welcome, Ben.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's always so good to connect with you. My name is Ben Cogswell. I am currently a kindergarten teacher. This will be my third year, but I've been teaching, I think, for about 14 years. I was a sixth grade teacher and a technology TOSA, which stands for Teacher on Special Assignment. And I work with teachers in my district, TK through 6, and really kind of help get our ed tech program going in our district. And so I decided to return back to the classroom about 3 years ago, and people were like, "Oh, you were forced to go in kinder as a sixth grade teacher, huh?" And I said, "No, for lots of different reasons, I went ahead and chose to do that." So that's just a little bit about me. I live in sunny, or not sunny, sometimes sunny, Salinas, California, the salad bowl capital of the world.
Awesome. And you are a man of many, many talents and gifts. So we appreciate having you here. And specifically, I think it's so cool or interesting that in COVID times, I believe you said it was March of 2020, you decided Facebook. So why Facebook and why now, my friends?
And so you heard a little bit of the story, but I'll give you kind of the quick recap. So March 13th hit, and all my students were being sent home to shelter in place. Now in kindergarten, we kind of get half the students in the morning, half the students in the afternoon, and they overlap in the middle. And so we get each group, we get the whole group, and then we get the second group. And so I had sent about 16 out of my 28 kindergartners home in the morning, and I didn't have any chance to kind of prepare them for any of the things that was happening that day, because the decision came so quickly. And so I get home and I just think about how am I going to connect with all my parents? How am I going to keep my parents engaged? All of them have computers at home, but not all of them have internet right now. And so just the thought up, and it's Facebook, also YouTube, but kind of both of them for different purposes. And the thought popped up, I'm going to start creating a Facebook page to be able to connect with my parents. Just simply, I mean, when I think about kind of apps for parents, I send them, this app, and it's super hard to connect them, or I have to get them some training. But Facebook, there is no training there. And so for kind of two reasons, I started this to be able to connect with my parents, maybe, and my families in a different way. But also I understanding that, as a kindergarten teacher, there's a lot of kindergarten students out there that maybe their teacher isn't quite ready to hop on this transition so quickly. And so that was also a way to kind of connect with, kindergartners, I guess, across the USA, across the globe.
That's awesome. And you make such an important point in that sometimes we are so concerned with where we are, but what we need to do is start where they are, right? Where they're most comfortable, especially given all of these exceptional circumstances. Teachers will often be confused, page or group. What did you do?
That's such a great question. And I kind of looked at it for both. And I decided to go with a page. Because as a page, I can kind of moderate it with like anonymity, and I can post as the page. So I'm a Kinder Rocket, and I have the Kinder Rocket page. That's what we're called. We're called the Kinder Rockets. And so when I post to the Kinder Rocket page, I post as a Kinder Rocket, kind of like the admin. Versus if I'm a group is more for, I guess, connecting, like a bunch of teachers connecting, not necessarily, a teacher parent. Like, I feel like pages, sometimes there's kind of some, maybe like a kind of a client and a business kind of relationship, like a teacher, right? Maybe my clients are my families and my students, right? Versus a group, everybody's allowed to kind of post to the group, and both of them you kind of have control over. But I look as a group to kind of more to share ideas, and I think about, well, I can share ideas about teaching, right? But it's really my classroom front. So that's definitely where I would suggest going through for a page. And it's kind of a stat I didn't share earlier. A lot of people will, again, like, why Facebook? Well, according to the Pew Research study with their most recent data done in 2019, I believe it's about 69% of adults have Facebook, and that's adults over the age of 18. So that's a big range when you look at adults, considering it could be, your 80-year-old old grandfather. And so that's definitely YouTube being the only social media app that's used a little bit more in that 73% of adults. So you get quite a big bang for your buck when you're looking at using those two apps.
Thanks, Ben. And you're right, like a community is private, right? It's a great place to have discussions, but that might not be the right forum for parents to suddenly engage with one another. Having said that, though, did you find that that you were able to forge the connections you were hoping for and build community in a way that you were hoping when you started it?
I definitely feel like I definitely felt like it helped with building community. Just like everything, did I have all my parents on Facebook? No, right? A lot of them were, but it's really hard to connect with all your parents no matter what you're doing. I think about in the classroom, getting all your parents like to come to parent-teacher conferences can sometimes be challenging. And so I with that, did I get 100% in there? No. But did I get the parents that were in there? It was really cool. Like, I did these read alouds every night at 7 o'clock, because you can't just have a page and not post any content, right? And so we did read alouds, and I would see parents liking the read alouds. I would see them commenting, Rosemary said her favorite part of the book was blank. Hi, Mr. C, and being able to engage in that. And not only this, it's this whole idea of our classroom front, right? Like if I have a classroom as an elementary school teacher, especially, I have work up in the windows or a bulletin boards. People can see what I'm doing, right? It's a public school is a public place. You have some kind of access to the classroom. Now, all of a sudden, when I'm sitting at our home and our classrooms become super private, maybe not private in some ways because the parent could be listening to us on the other end. And so it's like this mystery of what's going on in my classroom. What are the students doing? How do you share that kind of stuff? Now, there are some tools like, like Seesaw, which I love, which has a way you can share students' work with, audiences. But with this, now all of a sudden, I was able to post students' work, and I have videos that I shared with a few different communities, and I have student videos that have over 2,000 views. A student video shared, of course, with parent permission and parent knowledge, right? Because that's the first thing you got to do, is make sure you have parent permission before you post anything with students, right? And even then, no first names and last names, right? First name picture okay, first name, last name not okay, right? Address not okay, just some of those things. But I all of a sudden, and what does that do for a kid that a parent can look at my kid, look at how well they're sharing. And so it really gave, I guess, that public appearance to your classroom, right? That we're missing in a lot of this distance learning. And maybe you don't want to have a public page, but you could at least have just your group of your family, That's the other cool thing is, about Facebook, I don't have to be friends with my parents to have them in the page, right? They can be part of the page. I don't need to be their friends, because I want to still maintain a little bit of that relationship. And also I can make it public or private. So I can only invite that certain community and only have that. I chose to do mine public because I just wanted to support more than my class.
That's amazing. So you've given us so many tidbits here. So first of all, this learning digital citizenship in the moment, right? It organically in the context. What is private information? What is personal information, right? What does that look like? And you're doing that. The kids are going to catch on to that so much more, and so will the parents, which I think is amazing. And then you talked about how you're being public facing, which I think is so awesome. Is there any other advice, and you've given us lots of tidbits, any other advice that you would give to an educator who is thinking about Facebook for their class?
So I love Facebook. I think the most important part for an educator is creating a space that's public, that's parents can access. It could be as simple as a Google site if you're not as comfortable, right? Facebook is really nice because a Google site is a little bit less, when you put out updates, how do you know that there's an update on there, right? There's this whole thing about, I felt I have 4 kids. And so I sometimes was overwhelmed with the work and the logins, right? However, the Facebook, like another phone call, another message from my teacher. Well, all of a sudden it's built in there. Parents are checking it anyways, right? Why not give them something else to check? It's not necessarily a whole lot more information that I'm putting at parents. Did I have other avenues to send parents messages? Yes. but it was just nice. And I felt like I could kind of provide some extra content and some extra information on there. For example, this is one of my tips is you need to post content regularly or people aren't going to check it. Like, and when I say regularly, I really think you should try to post something daily, even if it's from somebody else. Like, hey, I want a video. I'm teaching kindergartners about phonics, right? I could go find a video on phonics from YouTube and post it to that page, right? It's also really cool because I can share public events. And so I guess a few things I said. So kind of narrowing down the tips, make that one-stop shop, make that one point that where parents can go and find some stuff. That public facing point. Again, Facebook is a bonus because you can post stuff there and you're not it's not going to be something extra really, right? It's going to be something that's already in their workflow, which is something I think is helpful as well. And then also just, I think just be open, right? Give it a try. And if it doesn't work for you, it might not work for you, but you know, maybe you find your families maybe use Instagram more, or you got to, like you said, Jennifer, you got to meet your parents and your families with where they're at. The last cool thing I'm going to share about Facebook, and this is kind of cool, especially for those of us, and many of us have multiple languages in our classrooms. And I didn't realize that this at first. The first I was actually posting in English and in Spanish because I have a lot of my parents in Spanish. But then I started noticing when I looked at my own posts that I was seeing it written twice. And then what I realized is Facebook will automatically translate the post to whatever your native languages of Facebook is, right? So if I'm posting my message in English and my parents are using the Facebook in Spanish and all their settings are in Spanish, it will automatically translate it for them, right? And so that's another really cool thing about accessibility, right? Is that I don't have to translate anything for them. I put it, you know, if it's text, right? A video, obviously, there's a whole different story, right? But if it's just text, and so I just thought it was a nice way to still feel those connections with families, and still feel like that they could access me and see what I was doing. So lots of little tidbits in there. You might have to rewind a few times, but any questions, you can reach out.
100%. So I'm going to ask you for your information in a second, but I just want to pull from a few things. I did not know that Facebook, I should have known, but I did not know that Facebook would translate. And I think for some of our ELL students where there is that barrier, that is huge. The other thing you said about linking to live events, we don't know what it's going to be like in the new school year. And one of the things that I was absolutely surprised and amazed and delighted with was how many artists and zoos and authors went onto Facebook Live in order to create content for people to, you know, to pass the time, you know, to teach things. Like there is an aquarium. I was learning about sharks all the time at 1 p.m. And the ability to do that seamlessly makes a lot of sense. So I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day. We would thank you for your offer to connect with us. Please tell us where to find you.
So I have a catch-all. If you go to www.coachben.org, that's kind of like my catch-all, coachben.org. It's a Google site, and you can go, there's a place where it says like connect, and you can find my like my YouTube, and you can find my email there. You can find me at Twitter at Cogswell_Ben. But speaking of Facebook, you should just go and look up Kinder Rockets. You'll see my little Kinder Rocket logo. I have it around here somewhere. But you'll see my little Kinder Rocket logo. You can check out what I'm doing, and maybe that gives you some ideas on maybe how you can use Facebook for you as a teacher and build that community and connect with your students.
Thank you, Ben. You rock. Pardon the pun. Have a great day. Thank you so much.